everybody and welcome to my studio show. Today I'm going to show how to create a MIDI file and a control track on board to select a registration bank and a registration. And this beautiful guitar, by the way, is the new Pacifica 611. In this tutorial, I showed how to create a MIDI file to select a registration bank and also registrations. But you asked me how to create such a control track also on board. First question. Second question, is this also possible with instruments like SX900 or CVP having only one MIDI port? And the answer is yes. This is Yamaha SX900 with one MIDI port only. Here you can see all the registration banks in the user memory of the instrument. It is possible to use any other storage location like USB stick, but it is important to collect all the registration files in one storage location, like a folder for example, because it is impossible to change the storage location by the simple MIDI bank select message. It is very important to define the order of the registration banks. The numbers at the beginning of the registration name defines the order of the registration banks. My first bank here is 00 something, because the LSB MIDI data for the bank selection is from 0 up to 127 and not from 1 to 128. And that's why my first registration bank is 0 something. As you can see, this instrument has 32 registration banks in the user memory. If I would add another registration bank, the naming of this bank should be 33 something. I prepared this registration bank to recall the MIDI file 32 control track. First step is the MIDI file recording. Press Record, MIDI Quick Recording. Now I'm going to play some simple chords with auto accompaniment. That's it. Let's check it again. Okay. The style has been recorded as a MIDI file. Press Save with naming control track for the created MIDI file. Now we have a MIDI file, the container for the control track, and it is time for the MIDI template. We are going to connect MIDI out with MIDI in, and this is a classic MIDI loop. To avoid to send MIDI data to an infinite, never-ending loop, we will do some settings now. Menu and page 2, MIDI. We start with the template preset all parts, what you have also in your instrument. Okay, select and press exit. To avoid unwanted and strange controllings, switch the transmission of susex MIDI data off and change to page transmit. I will use the first track of the song as a control track for the selection of registration banks and registrations. And that means I set any other transmit channel to off. I think it's a good idea to use channel 1 also for commercial MIDI files, because this track is the least important track of our file. Normally it's the melody track, and you want to play, you want to perform, you want to sing, you don't need the melody track in your song. And that's why this track is the best track for control functions. Back to the MIDI template, all channels off, also for the multipaths. You see here, every channel 2 off. Also, the transmission of all style tracks should be avoided. Don't forget, we are going to send MIDI data back to the instrument. So, everything has to be off carefully. Page 4 is the MIDI transmission page for this song. Here is channel 1. And channel 1 is used for the transmission of the control data. The first song channel has to be set to port 1, channel 1. We want to use this channel for controlling the registrations only. Use this arrow to set the details. Change the setting like shown here. Select the transmission of controllers and program change only. No notes, no pitch bend, no aftertouch. All other MIDI channels are set to off. Only channel 1 sends controller and program change data. You can use any track, that means any channel of your choice. I decided to use channel 1. The transmission setting off is very important because otherwise all MIDI data of the songs will be transmitted and received by the instrument itself, and they will destroy the sound. Please take care to switch really all transmission channels to off. Next, page MIDI receive. MIDI channel 1 is the controller channel for the registration banks. To select a registration bank and a registration via MIDI, we have to set channel 1 to keyboard. All other channels to off again. And now it's time to save the MIDI template to user. Press save with a self-explaining name, here control track. This is the MIDI template to control registrations by a MIDI file. As you can see here, I connected MIDI out with one MIDI cable, MIDI out to MIDI in. That means all the data are going back to the instrument. Okay, I have this control track at the moment without control track, and in the next step I would like to prepare this control track. The first step is to check what is going on here. As you can see, my registration banks in my folder, in my user area, are named like this. That means every registration bank starts with a number. And the reason is that here I know this is number 32 and I know the data to insert inside the MIDI file. Okay, here is my song, control track, my MIDI file, what we created before. Okay, so we go in, recording, and this time not quick recording but multi-recording. Open Step Edit and check the event filter first. Select all MIDI event types. We want to see anything. Nothing should be hidden. As you see, channel 1 is completely empty. If you use your personal or commercial MIDI files, it looks of course differently because channel 1 is used. In this case you can simply delete all the data, or you can also use the bank select message which is inside of the track and simply edit the bank select message. However, take care not to destroy your file. Make a copy beforehand because the editing on board is destructive. Now we have to insert a MIDI bank select message. This is easy. We copy the data from another track. We change to channel 9. Because any sounding track of a MIDI file has a bank select message inside for the sound selection. Here is the MIDI bank select message. MSB, LSB and program change. Press multi-select and copy the bank select message to the clipboard. Change back to channel 1 and press paste to paste the MIDI bank select message to channel 1. This is the MIDI address for the registration bank. MSB controller 0 is 0. LSB controller 32 is the number of registration in the storage location. In my case, the user memory. I want to recall registration bank 32, so I have to set this controller 32, to the value 32. LSB controller 32 has in this special case also the value 32. For any other registration bank, this value would be different. Program is the selection of the registration. I want to start with registration pad 1. That means program change 1. Now let's fix the positions. Cursor to left side, time positions. We start with controller 0 at the first position 1, 1, 0. Next is control 32 at 1, 1, 1. One tick later, the shortest possible time distance. And the last event is the program change at 1, 1, 2. Again, the shortest possible time distance. Now we have a clean MIDI bank select message at the beginning of the song. This message recalls bank number 32 with pad, registration pad number 1, defined by the program change. Now I want to do even more. I want to change the registration within the song. And for this application, only the simple program message is needed, because the registration bank is already selected. Select the program change event, press copy and paste, and change the position to bar number 2, for example. And of course, we have to change the program to number 2 because we want to select the second registration. Again, copy and paste program event to the 3rd bar, and here we change to the 3rd registration. Again, copy and paste. Bar number 4. We select registration number 4. Here we go. Copy and paste. And this time, bar number 5. And we go back to registration number 3. Next, copy and paste. Here we go to bar number 6. And we select registration 2. And copy and paste bar number 7 to select registration 1. And so on and so on. Last step, save the MIDI file, press save, save here, override yes. Now it is time to check our new created MIDI file, including control track. First step, we select another registration bank. For example, here registration bank number 1. This registration bank has 8 settings. Second step, I deselect the song by selecting another song. For example, here in the preset area, perfect. Now I have selected a completely different registration bank. As soon as I go back to my new created song control track, please have a look on this registration area. As soon as I select the song, the registration bank is selected. This one, what I want to recall. And now I start the song, and please have a look on this registration bank. All the registrations will be selected automatically by the song. Let's check it. Change, change, change. And now back, other direction. Perfect, it works. That means I can do things like that. I have here different sounds, like this, and like this. Okay, that means I can change sounds immediately inside the song. Let's check it. And you can recall everything, like vocal harmony, pedal functions, or also the external effects like guitar effects. SX900 has a microphone input which can be used also for guitar, including effects like distortion or chorus or delay, or other effects like amp simulation. And here I can prepare the complete song beforehand, and I can simply play the music, and all the effects are set by the MIDI file, which is also really great. Is that fun? One last tip. Normally, I recommend to set up the registration memory like this to switch all the possible parameters on, to save everything what is possible to save. But this is one of the exceptions. Why? Because normally, a registration recalls the song. In this special case, our song recalls also the registration. And that's why you can solve this problem like this. You can save the first registration of the bank, including the selection of the MIDI song. So the first registration always recalls the song and recalls the same registration. After starting the registration, the song is the master of the disaster. That means now you have to avoid to recall the MIDI song again. And for this reason, I strongly recommend to set the registration memory setting without MIDI song. At least for registration 2, 3 and 4. If you use only the MIDI files as the starting point, then you should always deselect MIDI songs. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and thank you also for your mails, what you wrote to me. It would be great if you use the public comment function, because it is very important to share also these experiences with other users of this community. And don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to recommend this channel also to all your friends. Thanks for watching. See you next time.